Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to another Thunderbird live coding session. My name is Alex. I'm the lead UX architect at Thunderbird. And if you're around here, probably you know me already. But anyway, thank you so much for joining. How's everybody doing? Today here in Vancouver, it's 11:30 in the morning. It's a cloudy, rainy, cold day. I hate it because it's May. It's supposed to be spring, almost summer, and here it looks like it's still fall or the beginning of winter. It's just terrible. How's everybody doing? Where are you? Just as usual, let me know in the chat, where are you connecting from? What time is it at your place? Like, are you super late? You should be asleep. Still pretty early. How's everybody doing? Anyway, today in this coding session, we are going to take a look at how to start creating the new account hub. The account hub is basically a new feature that we want to ship in 102. 102 is gonna most likely be released at the end of June. So we released a list in our official blog post of all the things that we want to publish in 102. The majority of those things are done, almost finished entirely, but there's one thing, which is the account hub, which it's missing entirely. I mean, the majority of the backend code is there already. It completely misses the front end, and I have to do it. So I gotta start today. It's always great when we announce new features and we're sure like this is gonna happen in 102 and that feature doesn't exist at all. So yeah, this is exciting. What could possibly go wrong, right? This is great. Anyway, we have a few people in the chat. Hello, Jean from Slovakia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Rupert from UK. You're welcome for the WordPress videos. You're very welcome. John. Okay, yeah, that's easy. So just write John. Okay, no, sorry, that's my bad. I'm just ignorant with name. Anyway, let's get right into the coding thing. So I didn't have time to organize my desktop, so I'm gonna move stuff around a little bit. Hopefully I'm not gonna give you a headache. This is my terminal. Perfect. First of all, a couple of super quick cool announcements. There are something, I don't know if you're running Thunderbird Daily 91 or beta, but there are some cool things that just landed in I think just today or yesterday. And first of all, we are working on new icons. I don't know if you can see them here. They're not like kind of tiny, but because it's the default font sizing or the default density of the application, we are rebuilding all the icons of the entire application, and these are so cool, like pixel perfect icons, fully color customizable. There's extra things that we're shipping just today, so today more improvements are gonna land, but by default all these icons for the spaces toolbar, they are density aware. So if you go to a compact size, a normal size, or a touch size, these are all specifically crafted icons for each different variation. It's not just one icon that gets stretched and resized. We are working on these folder pane icons for the touch variation. These are currently stretched, but because they're pixel perfect, they kind of works. It's not too bad, but use it in normal density and it's the best thing. Soon we are going to land these wonderful improvements. So we are implementing some default colors for the folder pane. So by default, of course, all the icons are color customizable, and if you have some custom colors on those icons, we won't override your custom colors, but by default we're gonna ship a color scheme for those folders. So if you have a bunch of like multiple regular folders, they all look orange. If you have multiple inbox, they all look like the primary blue color, and so on. We are doing this to improve the accessibility and the visual recognition of those icons, because actually of those fields are like list items, whatever you want to call them, because it's, I mean, you should actually read where you click. But a lot of our users, especially with the old icons that were very colorful PNGs icons, their muscle memory of the usage, they were used to actually recognize the color of where to click rather than actually reading the folder name, which is kind of sketchy. But I can see how having a default color scheme can help you to better digest and better identify the interaction point, the clickable item. So yeah, that's gonna be one improvement that is gonna land today. Another super cool improvement that already landed is the ability to finally, in 2022, you can control the font size of the whole application. And it's great. It's phenomenal. It took like so many months. It's still not perfect, but it's a first. So first of all, you can increase, and as you can see, it only touches the font size. It doesn't touch the UI, it doesn't touch the layout. You can control the full font size. And font size and density are completely agnostic. They don't interfere with each other. So you could have like a compact density with a very large font size, or you could have like a smaller font size if you have like very large, massive 8K monitor or something. You need like a tiny font size and touch density. Like you could have these type of little things. And I specifically pushed to have this type of flexibility because multiple monitors resolution, multiple DPIs, multiple visually impaired users that they need just a couple of extra pixels in their global font size. These also affects the emails. So if you get an email here and you increase the font size, also the font size, the font size of the email gets updated, like the content, but we didn't touch the control plus control minus, like the temporary zoom that we use for just the content of the email, so users can actually increase or decrease the font size to just read it better. But those two mechanisms are completely separate and completely independent from each other. So yeah, I am just super excited for this little thing. The only thing that is not applied to yet are dialogues. You can see the dialogues are still the regular font size because dialogues are kind of tricky. If we increase the font size, then we risk to have like a dialogue like this, like a very large font and the dialogue that doesn't update its size properly. We are working on basically removing all dialogues because dialogues are just very hard to manage. They're terrible. So it's gonna happen later, but for now the dialogues are not affected by the global font size. And yeah, these are the major announcements that I wanted to show you. I'm very excited about it. But today, what I need to work on is the initial creation of this little thing. So right now, what happens when you launch Thunderbird for the first time, we just open up Thunderbird with the account setup tab. So you launch Thunderbird, it's completely empty here, and then you see something like this, new existing account. You see this, it launches Thunderbird, the first page is tab, it's empty, like you see this sort of like account central, and then immediately opens another tab with the account settings. But it's not an optimal workflow, especially because we have some users that don't use Thunderbird with an email account. They use Thunderbird as an RSS feed reader or just a calendar application, or somewhere because we just enable Matrix support in the chat. Users use it just as a chat client, like a native chat client or IRC, Matrix, or XMPP, whatever type of protocol they want to use. So there are some use cases that justify the fact that we don't want to shove the account setup for the email to users. And the solution is, instead of just forcing them creation of a specific account type, we just show a hub. We want to create a hub, like a centralized place where users can actually set up the type of account that they need, or import an existing profile, import an existing account, or set up something else that is not strictly related to the emails. And this account hub initially is just going to be an initial dialog that shows up. It takes over the page. It's not a separated dialog, it's part of the whole application. But then in the future, these hub will be dynamically will be used more dynamically in order to have all the account creation workflows happen inside this hub. So we're not going to open extra tabs. We're not going to open extra dialogues. We're not going to do anything like multiple steps, multiple pages. Everything happens in this hub. So it's going to take a long time to achieve that, but this is the first step. We need to create something like that. So let's do it together. As usual, if you have any questions, any doubt, you want to ask questions about coding, about Thunderbird, about the stupid lights that I have at my back, you can ask whatever you want. So feel free to fill up the chat with a bunch of things. I will answer them randomly between coding, because I sometimes need to take a break because I get tired pretty easily. I'm old now, so I get tired. Anyway, let's create a new bookmark. We don't have a bug number for this, but let's say account hub. We got this new bookmark. Okay, so what I want to do, I didn't really think much about the implementation strategy, but if we think about this account hub here, this is something that it will be opened pretty much everywhere across the entire application, not just on the first page or on the first tab. It can be open on the mail tab, like the first main application, can be open on the single message view, can be open from the compose window if users... Oh, I told you I was tired. Oh God. Users need to create an extra account while they're composing. That might happen. So this element needs to be available pretty much everywhere. And what I'm thinking is a custom element that uses a template. The custom element will manage all the logic to show and hide different sections. And then the template is going to be a static HTML template where we can manage the layout. So today I'm going to focus just on the front end. I'm not going to create a bunch of strange logic or complex logic for all this little thing, but I'm going to create a template. So theoretically, if we have a template and a custom element that grabs the template, whenever we need to use it, we just need to add it to the main tab and the single standalone window and the messenger compose. By doing so, the entire application will be covered, because that template and that custom element are available everywhere. So let's start creating the template. I'm gonna create the template in the default base content section. Yes, we have the about 3 pane, we have the wrapper here, we have the Mac window. Yes, I'm gonna create this new file called account hub.inc.xhtml, because this is an include, it's not a standalone file. Also, let me know if you can read it. I mean, I can zoom this if it makes it easier, but should be fine. I need to copy the source license here from somewhere. Do we have another inc file? Yes, there you go. Let's copy the source file. Let's copy the source file and let's create an HTML template. So we're using this HTML prefix here for now because we're still in kind of like a Zooland. So we need to specify that this is an HTML template, but I don't want to continue adding HTML every time. So I can set a simple X, I don't remember the syntax. We have it somewhere. Yes, there you go. This is the syntax. So if we use this type of syntax, we will be able to just write pure HTML inside this element. Here we need to, indent the file to 2 spaces, certain specs, and we can call the account hub. account hub, we define the root of these HTML template XMLNS as a standard HTML. Wow, I'm making a lot of strange noises, eh? And now by doing that, I can write the simple like h1 or any other regular HTML tags. I don't need to specify the prefix anymore. Vika says, I just want to say thank you. Well, you're very welcome, Vika. Anytime. John says the font size, it's fine. She's great. I'm happy for it. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's organize a little bit this work. We need a heading, and this heading also needs to change based on where this account hub is open, because if this is open when Thunderbird launches for the first time, of course it's going to be welcome to Thunderbird. But if a user already has an account, is already using Thunderbird for a while and needs to trigger this account hub to set up another account, whatever, you shouldn't say welcome to Thunderbird. It's pretty silly. So it should say something like account hub or account setup process, whatever, anything else. So first of all, we need a header with welcome message or title. Then we need a series of buttons here. So a buttons grid. And then we want a footer for some release notes, support, donate, or other thing like log in with something else, or I don't know, if the user wants to go to the, I mean, users might want to change some settings or install some add-ons right away before even setting up a single account. So we could have even some quick links underneath here to allow them to do that. So we can have like a footer area with links, something like that. Okay, so Everest Becca, I am awesome and inspiring. Okay, thank you. Well, wow. Thanks so much. I didn't expect that. Now I'm now I'm blushing. Funny that you said that, because I don't really know what I'm doing, so it's great. It looks like I'm cool and I'm confident, which is awesome. This is everything that I want to I wanted to communicate to you. Anyway, let's create the first header. The first header can be like a header section. Let's use some semantic HTML. We can have an H1 with some, we're gonna write for now just static content, and then we're gonna transfer this to Fluent in order to be translatable. We're gonna add some CSS, but the CSS, I want the CSS and the Fluent added to the shadow DOM of this element, because I don't want the CSS of this account hub to leak around the page. This needs to be self-contained inside this template, so we can do that. I'm crazy, yeah. Welcome to Thunderbird. We can do something like that. Actually, this should be a dialogue. Yes. First of all, this should be an HTML dialogue, and everything should be inside the HTML dialogue. See, I told you I didn't know what I was doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. This is a header. We're going to Thunderbird. Then we have our button grids. That can be a section. And then we can have something. Let's write a very simple button with a test. And then we can have our footer area. Footer? Sorry. Footer. Footer links here. This is kind of the basic structure that I want to have. So for now, as a first very simple implementation, this is an HTML5 dialog, a modal dialog that kicks in and opens up. When a user clicks on any of these buttons, it will open the actual tab that will take care of that account setup configuration. So set up an account, get a new email address, import existing profile, set up calendar, chat, and feed. For now, they're still in they're still dialogues, very old dialogues, horrible dialogues, but we will take care of that later. For now, we don't have time, so we're gonna just trigger existing account wizards account creation. But okay, this is good enough as a template. We have an ID, so we can start creating the JavaScript part that will trigger this, because we want to test it and trigger it and add it somewhere. So first of all, let's open the messenger.xhtml. And we want to include right at the bottom of our file inside the body, include account hub.inc.xhtml. So we have that inside. Danny is excited about the dialog tag. Yes, we do, kids. This is great. All right. We got this. Let's do a quick compile and see if I already broke something, but it should be fine. I doubt I broke something. Mac run. Okay. We don't have any sketchy things, any strange layout for now. And if we open the inspector, we can see that our dialog is inside the body here, template, account hub, and we have our template here with the document fragment, dialog, perfect. All right, awesome. Let's create our custom element, shall we? Question from Who Cares? I love your nickname, Who Cares? Because when I started this live streaming, I said like, hey, we're starting soon. And then you wrote, who cares? Okay. I thought you actually wrote, who cares? So I was like, oh, I was sad for a while. But Who Cares asks, would it be hard to extract just mail handling part from Thunderbird, get rid of UI? What do you mean mail handling part? Just the mail tab? Get rid of the UI entirely. Mail handling, please explain. Like reading, writing messages, not that, like no UI, just the processing of the mailing, like the fact that we print things from the email. Like what do you mean? Please elaborate. I didn't understand. All right, so let's create this custom element into the widget. I'm gonna create this custom element inside the widgets area. And I'm gonna create account hub.js, all lowercase or separated. John says he would like to use the backend part. If you saw my earlier message, what did you write? That doesn't require UI, something like offline IMAP and bsync. Were you replying to Ernest? Because Ernest redacted his message, so I don't see his message. Using Thunderbird as a CLI. Thunderbird has a CLI integrated. Like you can use Thunderbird through your terminal if you want. Kind of sketchy. I don't know why would you want to do that, but yes, you can do it. Anyway, let's continue this work. We got, let me copy some comments here from this and boom. Let's wrap these around so it's self-contained, and we can define something. We can define a class. How do we call this? Let's call these account hub. And custom elements always uppercase, which these extends a regular HTML element. Not embed that element. Yeah, we can do this. And we can define custom elements, define account hub. What happened? Account hub. Okay, we can do something like that. Then constructor. Whoopsie. What do you mean it's not defined? It's right here. Oh, account hub. Oh my god, I don't know how to write. I was confused. Like, why it says it's not defined? I just wrote it here. Ugh, youch. All right, so what are we doing here? First of all, we need to always call super when you extend an HTML element and you tap into the constructor. You're kind of like overriding the constructor of the default HTML element, so called super in order to call the constructor of the HTML element. Don't forget it, otherwise it's gonna just crash. Then we need to tap the shadow DOM because, as I said, I want these account hub to be as much as self-contained as possible. I don't want CSS or Fluent or JavaScript method leaking out into the window or anything else. So I want these to be self-contained. So we're gonna pretty much add as much as possible inside the shadow DOM, and we can do a shadow root. We can create a shadow root method class that is these attach shadow. Attach shadow is a method of the custom element or the HTML element that allows us to create mode open to tap into the shadow DOM of these element. Oh, the chat is going crazy. What are you guys talking about? Does Mozilla plan making mail SDK something that could be used to create a mail syncing program and that's maintained? I don't know. I mean, Thunderbird, we just released Pop 3.js. Like Thunderbird, the majority of the source code of Thunderbird, the way that it handles mailing is done in C++. But it's very old C++, not well maintained. So there are a lot of improvements in the current JavaScript libraries. We already implemented Pop 3, like the managing of the Pop email accounts in JavaScript. We're doing the same thing in IMAP with IMAP.js. You can check the source code of Thunderbird and see if you can extract. Like, we are not planning to make those mailing protocols written in JavaScript just a standalone usable SDK that you can just include somewhere and have that as your basic for your own product. We're not planning to do that because we just do it for ourselves on Thunderbird, but nothing is stopping you from extracting it and use it in your own project. I'm sure that's not the answer you were looking for, but that's what we're basically doing. Anyway, let's continue here. We need to add Fluent here. Actually, I should add it right away. We use a method called insertftl if needed here. The calendar, mostly about it on extras. Yeah. This is annoying. Yeah, let's copy this. Okay, insert Mozzul element. Global Mozzul element. This is a global method, so I need to specify that this is global. Yes, strict. This is the way I code. I'm very disconnected, and it's not the best. But this is a global. This is a globally accessible thingy, so doesn't matter that it's not defined. To be defined. And we need to create the Fluent file. So where is this about Fluent? Here. Inside Messenger, account creation, account setup. About import, account manager, account central. Yeah, let's create a new Fluent, new file. Account hub.ftl. Once again, copy this, paste it here, make this file, and then space 2. And give it a count hub welcome title. Welcome to Thunderbird. Let's write something like this. Okay. So here we can do account hub.ftl, and now that we do this, we can say document, whoopsie, document L10 and connect to the root, add this shadow root. So this is connected. Okay. Then we can create the content here because we need to tap to the template. So we can do something like this. The content is equal to the constructor of this custom element. And grab the template, grab the content of that template, and clone the node of that template with all its children, and then append it to the shadow root, because that's what we want. So we don't have this template defined. So in the constructor here, we need to define a static get template. Which is equal to, for now, these return document get element by ID. This is kind of sketchy because we are, I guess that's the only way to do it. Kind of sketchy because the custom element is tapping the document, so it's leaking out basically. Oh, we're out. Sorry. Put it outside. Put it outside that class. Never put a static element, a static method outside that class. All right. Let me see some messages here. Hi, Alessandro. Hello, Netscape. Are you planning to natively support Microsoft Exchange? We desperately need an alternative to evolution of Linux. We have an add-on called OWL that works quite well. It's a longer conversation. If it was up to me, yes, we would support Microsoft Exchange out of the box. But it's a longer conversation that needs to happen. There are a lot of moving pieces, like legal stuff, and it's kind of complicated. Yeah. I mean, who cares is the name. I'm gonna call you who. I mean, who. If you like create a bug in Bugzilla for the request of the SDK. It's a pretty massive project. Is not an easy thing. Just opening something, just release it, and an SDK is not an easy thing to do. But if Mozilla has the resources and it's interested in doing something like that, you can definitely propose it and ask for it. But I doubt, but if you explain properly why it's needed and how other users might benefit for it, yeah, you can open a bug proposals and propose it. Zishan, hello, good to see you. Thank you for joining. All right, what are we doing? Okay, I'm returning the template. So this is kind of sketchy because I'm tapping this. Okay. So now let's add this. We're adding to the shadow DOM. Let's do disconnected pullback. So when the account is closed, we want to dispatch an event. This is mostly what I'm doing here is boilerplate. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna go through every single thing. Custom event. Let's dispatch a message, something like account hub close, something like this. So the application can listen. The entire application can listen to this event and trigger account hub close. So we can do that. So what I'm doing here, might be complicated if you're used to custom elements or things like that, but it's pretty much boilerplate. First of all, I'm wrapping the entire code around a curly bracket. So this code, it's absolutely impossible, cannot leak outside, cannot be accessed easily. It's just very, very self-contained. So we are sure that this account hub is not going around. Then we use the use strict. The use strict in JavaScript is telling pretty much the application, also the code editor, to be strict in the rules of JavaScript. You don't put the use strict, you can, I think, I'm not sure, you can redeclare some variables or use things that are not well defined. You should check the proper description of the use strict. But anyway, here I'm creating a custom element that extends a default HTML element. So whenever you extend an element and you need to tap into the constructor, you always want to call super, because it triggers the constructor of the parent element that you're extending. In this case, a regular HTML element. Here I'm tapping the shadow root because, as I said, I want things inside the shadow DOM that don't leak outside this item. If I put some CSS, if I put some Fluence file, some custom JavaScript, whatever I put inside this account hub needs to stay inside the account hub. I don't want the CSS to be applied to the whole window of the application, just inside the account hub. So I'm tapping the shadow root and appending the content of the template, because I created this template here that is static, doesn't do anything. We just shove it inside the shadow root so we can tap it now. Right, then another thing that I want to do, I want to add some CSS. So first, let's define this let template and return the template. Let me see how in the application we do something like that. So the pane calendar, how do we use this? Pane calendar. Wait, open preferences tab. Oh, that's a preference. Okay. Woof. All right. Let's ignore the calendar thing. But for example, mail message tab template, tab dialogues, dialogues tab template, print preview stack, the print preview stack. Oh, this is something, maybe it's coming from toolkit. Pane privacy, chat, pane compose, message, pane compose. Date card template. Content clone, card, query selector, yes. Okay, yeah, fine. Is this a custom element? No, this is a regular function. All right. clone it here. More questions. Danny says, I guess the first step will be to make your AMA POP3 SMTP JavaScript library reusable. If it isn't the case, that could be a nice internship project for a community member. Yeah, maybe. Engel asks, what made Thunderbird development speed up again? Oh, Ryan. Ryan is our product manager. So, yeah, Ryan said we managed to raise donations considerably and hire more engineers plus better planning. Humble brag. Yeah, Ryan is underselling his abilities. So basically, Thunderbird development sped up again thanks to Ryan, because Ryan jumped on board a few years ago and said like, this doesn't work. Let's fix it. So things got better. Rupert, is this an Electron app now? Thunderbird has always been, is not an Electron app. Electron apps are very specific things that use the Electron backend to run web code as native application. We are not an Electron app. We are better than Electron app. Thunderbird is a web layer, which is not entirely web, because we have a lot of parts that are Python, C++, Rust. So there's a lot of things. The front end is mostly JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. It's very, very plain. But this is, Thunderbird is a layer that sits on top of Firefox. Firefox has the render engine and the desktop. All the desktop stuff are the actual application. It's like native code. So we have like C++, and Rust, Gecko, C++, and that's the basic application. So the JavaScript part is just for the front end, but the core of the application is Firefox native C++ code. So it's not an Electron app. It's better because we don't have the hiccups and the performance issues of an Electron app, but we can write JavaScript. Nefscape says Thunderbird is still the default mail app on Ubuntu, could be more integrated with GNOME. We are working on that. We are integrating it with GNOME way more than it was before. For example, now it recognizes dark mode automatically. Let me see if I can trigger this, because I did some shit in here, but Rupert, yes, it's absolutely all open source. You can go, and let me show it to you actually. You can go to hg.mozilla.org, and this is the public repository. If you go, where is it? Com Central, current Thunderbird CMonkey calendar developer code. Com Central, there you go. This is the whole full source code. You can get not the push log files. Yeah, you got the build, the calendar chat, the email code. You can get into the email code. You can get the base content. Hey, look at that, filters dialog, about address, like all the files that I was touching. Everything is open source, and you can keep track of the push logs. Like every day we push multiple times a day all the improvements that we're pushing. So yeah, see, that's my name here. Things are happening. So yes, absolutely fully open source. Why wouldn't it be? But anyway, more GNOME integration. Let me see if I can. I'm on Elementary OS, which is Pantheon, but it's based on GTK. So first of all, we recognize the alignment of the decoration. We can use the full title bar, or you can customize it and not have the, like, leaving the default title bar if you want, or you can have the tabs in title bar. I prefer to have tabs in title bar because it looks way better. But then let me open my application here. If I go into desktop, appearance, and I switch to dark mode, boom, look at that, turns into dark mode. See, we recognize the GTK switching of dark light mode, and we recognize the primary color. So for example, you see if I'm selected here, this is the primary color. If I change my appearance to a purple, Look at this. See? The icon is purple. The selection is purple. We recognize if your Linux GTK desktop follows the GTK or like the free desktop implementation and the GTK like regular, if something crazy that it's custom based on the distribution or the desktop environment, it's hard for us to figure it out. But if it does and it respects the standards, we try to listen as much as possible to this. So that's the thing that we're trying to do as much as possible. Also, let's customize this toolbar, shall we? Background color, I don't like this. I want this. And then I want my button colors to be white and selected white, and selected button BG. I want a bright blue. No, I did it wrong. Selected button background color has to be bright and the button should be white. Yeah, now I like my Spaces toolbar more. See, you can customize everything. More questions. Okay, let's answer more questions. You're not making me code, guys. Mercurial, haven't seen that for years. Well, Firefox has been around for 25 years, 30 more. So the initial version control system of Firefox was Mercurial. And we have like gigabytes of Mercurial. Mercurial was actually better than Git up until some years ago, like a decade ago. Git couldn't handle large application. Like Firefox, the source code is like 40 gigabytes. So Mercurial was the only solution. Now Git can handle it, but of course, transferring the whole infrastructure to Git from Mercurial, it's kind of hard. And Mercurial is absolutely serviceable. Who cares asks, can you show menu, file, etc. while in tab mode? Yes, you just press Alt and you have them here, or you can click menu bar, always show the menu bar, and it's always visible. I don't like the main menu bar because I prefer to use in context things rather than things, but I understand like how users might need something like that. But yeah, you can hide it, show it, and there you go. Then there was funny bug of file overlapping the top icon. Nah, doesn't exist. Netscape asks, will it support libadwaita? What about GNOME online accounts integration? That will let TB get Exchange support. It doesn't support libadwaita for now. We have our own styling because, of course, like we cannot have a KDE version, a GNOME version, a Pop! OS version, a Pantheon version. Like, we just use C++ to generate and simulate as much as possible the GTK rendering, but the UI we need to create it ourselves. We cannot create multiple UIs for every single desktop distribution, Linux distribution. It's just impossible, or desktop environment. So yeah, no, it doesn't. Ali said, how's your PHP knowledge? Perfect. I was a PHP developer. I've been a PHP developer for like 15 years. So why? Denny's answering about libadwaita. So yeah, we try to match as much as possible the default color scheme and things like that. Ali asks, what are your thoughts on the future of PHP as programming language? I love the direction and the ramp up of the speed of improvements. I love the performance improvements. I think Laravel did wonders for the PHP community because of it showed how powerful, reliable, and modular PHP can be. I'm excited with PHP 8, PHP 9, all the future things. I don't have any major strong opinions because I don't understand the hate for PHP. I understand some paradigms are kind of weird, especially if you come from .NET or other types of like Ruby on Rails, but it's a programming language which is absolutely serviceable and works pretty well, and I love it personally, PHP. So yeah, okay, let's continue. If you don't have other questions, let's continue coding, because we stopped coding this and we need to code it. I was explaining what I did for the custom element. This is still, but anyway, we need to add this file to our library. So if we do mail widgets, if we search for mail widgets, I want to add this .js. Yes, I need to add it in our jar file and then in our custom elements file. Yeah. So in our jar file, where is mail widgets? Where are we? Account hub is the first one. So jar, mail widget, messenger, content widgets has to be the first one. Okay. Widgets, boom. We need to add it to our repository, account hub.js. And then we need to add it to these custom elements JS class. These custom elements JS class is a class that loads these custom elements everywhere in every single window. It doesn't matter where, it just keeps loading it. So since this account hub needs to be available everywhere, we don't want to manually include that JavaScript file in all files. We just load it all of the time. A little bit of everything all of the time. So let's put this first, content mail widgets account. No, it's account hub.js. All right, let's see if we broke something, because now we're including, probably we're gonna have a JavaScript error or something, because I'm not confident about my coding skills. So yep, let's see what happens. Let's run this. Hey, we don't have any JavaScript errors, which is amazing. And we got our template here, account hub. It's perfect. All right, we are set. Like the default code, it's set, it's done. We have the default template, we have the default custom elements that grabs the template, clones it, puts it there, add it to the shadow DOM. We dispatch an element. The next step that we need to do inside this template are add CSS to the shadow root. And then, yeah, I think create a method to trigger this dialog. These are the major things that we need to deal with, but I'm gonna do it on my own another time, because I have meeting in half an hour, so I cannot dilly-dally here much too long. But let's actually add this to our commit, because we did a bunch of things. So hg add commit message account hub initial implementation, something like that. So we had the head. Perfect. Do you have any other questions? I'm gonna stay around for another 15 minutes. I'm gonna answer all your questions, so let me know if you have anything to ask, any doubts. So let's see here. Denny says, hot take, JavaScript will surpass PHP in 5 to 10 years. Yeah, like Ruby did, right, Thomas? Yeah. Hey, Abdul, what's up? Oh, Abhishek, hello, long time no see. Yeah. Oh my god, are we talking about PHP? Yes, we are. Simone, or Simone, I have to ask you, were you born in Italy like me, since you have this name? Sì, Simone, sono italiano. Sono italiano e mi sono spostato a Vancouver 10 anni fa. Yes, Simone, I'm Italian and I moved to Vancouver 10 years ago. So what's up? Actually, this weekend I'm recording a video to talk about my experience as a immigrant. Talk about my experience, about why I decided to leave Italy, what was my situation there, my terrible situation, and how I managed to basically restart my career when I moved to Canada, and now I am where I am right now. So yeah, Abdul, you love my language. I can do a live streaming in Italian. No one would understand anything, però posso continuare a parlare in italiano. Così dovrebbe essere interessante, non lo so. I could talk shit for like hours in Italian and no one could understand it. But anyway, Who Cares asks, do you test your changes on many systems? Yes and no. So first of all, I physically test the code on my laptop, MacBook, and I have another Windows crappy laptop that I use sometimes. But also at Thunderbird, or Mozilla, I would say, more accurately, we have something called Tree Herder, which is our continuous implementation, continuous integration, continuous deployment, which basically is the website where we push our code, and we run, whenever we push something, we run all automated tests. First, we make sure that the application can build on every single platform that we support. So Windows 2012, Windows 10, Mac OS, Linux. We currently use 1804. We're gonna upgrade the machine to 2004 later, but we always build a couple of LTS prior on Linux, just to make sure that we don't break older things. And then we run tests. We run a bunch of automated tests, and when the tests are orange, it means that something is failing and we need to fix it. But yeah, it's part of our job to, every time we implement a new feature, then we need to implement a test that covers that feature, both XP shell tests and Moki tests for the UI. So physically, yes, I test my code before I push it, but then we always push these on a try server, or we run these automated tests to make sure that we don't break anything. Danny says that my language is close to French, so I can understand part of what you say. Yes, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you speak French. I always wanted to learn French. I think I'm gonna move to Montreal after the pandemic is over and learn French. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, oh, I just got very low on my camera. I was just talking like this. This is not, I'm not the best doing this. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It helps me a lot, almost to achieve 100,000. You can see, like, behind my back, there's this empty space here where if I can get the 100,000 YouTube button, I'm gonna put it there, or maybe I'm gonna put it like down here so no one can see it because it's stupid. But anyway, just subscribe, leave a like if you like it, and let me know if there's any other thing about Thunderbird that you want me to live code or show, or do a session about it, explaining some quirks, some issues. There are a lot of extremely exciting things that are happening after 102 that we already defined and prototyped. I cannot wait to show you guys. It's just so good. It's gonna be Thunderbird 114. Thunderbird 102 is gonna be pretty great. Thunderbird 114 is gonna blow shit up. Like, it's just gonna be mind-blowing and exciting. So yeah, anyway, thank you all for watching, and as usual, please enjoy, be safe, and until the next one, happy coding. Bye bye.